A House Rules Committee meeting moments from now to discuss a resolution that would make special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia report public when it's released. Some Republicans signaling, though, that may not happen, should it. Let's ask former federal prosecutor Katie Sherkowski. Katie, should the public get a chance to see this report?
Well, you know, the Democrats better really hope that the Mueller report contains something juicy on President Trump for all the efforts they're exerting into making this report public. And really, when it comes down to is whether there's going to be a recommendation for an indictment. And that's Department of Justice policy. Obviously, there has been deviations from that in the past. James Comey released a report on Hillary Clinton to a great extent when there was no indictment, but the policy still remains in place. If there's not a recommendation for indictment, then the policy is that it shouldn't be released. There shouldn't be that information given out about citizens that are not being charged criminally, even including the president.
Now, the political calculus, of course, from the Republican side is if it's not released, and there's nothing, essentially, that Robert Mueller's come up with a dry hole vis-a-vis Russia collusion, then it might make sense for the Republicans to let the public see this rather than waiting for innuendo, leaks, and other, you know, sort of to let the media set a narrative that maybe there's still something explosive in that report.
Right, and I think that's a reasonable strategy, and I think that is something that it can be done because, as I mentioned, it is policy of the Department of Justice to not release these reports, but they're not prohibited from doing that, releasing some or all of the report, depending on how much is sensitive information. Congress can subpoena the report to go through as well to determine if there's a basis for impeachment proceedings and things along those lines. So there could be a strategic angle for the Republicans to do that. And perhaps it will turn out that President Trump himself would want the report released if there isn't that indictment that comes out of it. So only time will tell. But as right now, it seems a little premature for the Democrats to be pushing so hard to release a report that they really have no idea what's in it.
Yeah, and of course, this House resolution, we're not sure what's going to come of that. I do want you to listen to California Democrat and House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff over the weekend on this Mueller report.
I think it is a mistake, and I've said all along that I don't think Bob Mueller should rely on written answers. When you get written answers from a witness, it's really the lawyer's answers as much as the client's answer. I also think that the special counsel feels some time pressure to conclude his work, and knowing that the White House would drag out a fight over the subpoena, that may be an issue as well.
Katie, after 2 years of building up Mueller's bona fides, his ability to get to the bottom of everything, they built Robert Mueller up. It seems to me they're now questioning the legitimacy of the report before it's even released.
That's exactly what my thought was when I heard that. It seems like some sort of preemption, just in case the report doesn't contain what they want on President Trump, that there's not good enough answers because he wasn't forced to testify in person, which there's no obligation or even way for Mueller to force the president to do that. In fact, the receipt of the written answers was something that shows that President Trump was being cooperative. He's the subject of a criminal investigation. He didn't have to provide any of that at all. So this just seems like some sort of preemption of if it doesn't have what we want, it's because the investigation wasn't thorough.
And then, of course, the idea of let the House take care of this. They'll do a better job. Again, despite the fact we were promised by Democrats that Robert Mueller was going to do an amazing job, and we'd be shocked at what we discovered.
Right, and so I think the writing might be on the wall. We've seen the indictments that have come out of the Mueller probe at this point, and perhaps they're not pointing in the direction that had originally been hoped by some, that there's no collusion, there's no evidence collusion. It's coming closer and closer to that conclusion. And so I think now there has to be a point where you try to undermine it before you look like a fool.
All right, Katie, thank you very, very much.